All right, let's go on to segment 2. We're calling it Say What? And I know that's a little flip, but we've got a serious subject here, Cedric, and that being Art Briles' return to football coaching in America, hired by Mount Vernon ISD, a smaller school district in Texas, your state, Cedric. This is creating a lot of hubbub, as it should. Art Briles, embroiled in the scandal at Baylor a few years ago, now going to be coaching high school football. What's the view from down in the Lone Star State?
Well, I wrote in my Goldens Nuggets column this week on Statesman.com that Mount Vernon absolutely whiffed on this hire. What are you doing hiring Art Briles? You're a Class 3A school in East Texas, where I'm from. I've covered Mount Vernon back in the day when I was on preps for the Tyler Morning Telegraph. Nice area. Dandy Don Meredith is from there. The Cowboys great. How the trustees voted 7-0 to hire Art Briles after he is absolutely was complicit in a cover-up of dozens of sexual assault crimes on his campus at Baylor, and never really showed a whole lot of remorse for what happened to all those young women on that campus. Lost his job, but cashed in on a $15 million buyout, and I just don't know that that's a great look for a high school. Impressionable young men and women walking around that campus, and Art Briles has already showed a willful disregard to the safety of those young women in Waco. So I thought it was a horrible hire by the Mount Vernon ISD, and I'm not saying that Art Briles shouldn't be denied a chance to make a living. I thought he should have wound up coaching a pro team somewhere, NFL, CFL, or a just somewhere where it's already grown men walking around, and you don't have to be responsible for their actions. So I know that there are people defending him still, which I think is a joke. I asked those people, what if that was your daughter, your niece, your sister that was directly affected by him not showing responsibility for the actions of his football players? So bad hire, horrible PR nightmare in Mount Vernon.
Yeah.
And I just think that I just don't think that Art Briles should be on a high school campus, Jen.
It's pretty clear to me, Cedric, that the folks in Mount Vernon had an idea that this was not a good decision, because they made the announcement that they were hiring Art Briles on a Friday, the Friday of Memorial Day weekend, and it also happened to be graduation a couple hours later in Mount Vernon. So the fact that the timing of it just says to me they were aware that this was not a good choice. They wanted to try to bury it. They wanted to try to get it over on people, if you will, and instead it's blown up in their face. Their superintendent holding a press conference on Tuesday and saying that they vetted Art Briles, but then when he was asked, who did you talk to? Did you talk to the NCAA? No. Did you talk to victims from Baylor? No. Who did you talk to? Talk to people that know Art Briles well. Well, you think those people might be pulling for Art Briles to have another chance if they're friends with him? To me, the vetting was not really vetting. What they did was they talked to people that they thought would tell them what they wanted to hear. I'm with you, Cedric. I think Art Briles, if he's going to coach again, it needs to be at the professional level. And even that has been, we saw him get an opportunity, I think, in the CFL, and there was such a hubbub about it, they said, okay, never mind, we're backing away. And yet here's a school district with teenagers who are, unwittingly, they live in the district. They can't decide, I'm out of here, I'm going to go play somewhere else. The girls, the young women on that high school campus, they can't decide, I'm leaving. They live in that district. And so I just think for a high school to say this is who we want to be teaching our young people, to be coaching our young people, it's just such a bad choice. And so many kids are getting this choice inflicted on them by the adults that should know better. And I just think that's a horrible decision for those young people. I'm surprised, Cedric, at this point they haven't changed course, but to my knowledge, they've dug in. They're saying that he's the guy that they're going with. I just don't know how they get to the season with him in place. There's going to be protests at their games, Cedric. People are going to come out of the woodwork to try to get this guy off the sidelines.
You know what? And when you think about it, they turned the Facebook comments off on their Facebook page because I'm sure there was some uproar locally
Yeah.
and externally as well. And then in the press release that Jason McCullough, the superintendent, released, there's a quote from Grant Taft saying that Art Briles never had any recruiting violations at Baylor. This isn't about recruiting violations, man. If this is just about recruiting violations, he's fine. This is about common decency and prioritizing the welfare of young people, men and women, over winning football games.
Right.
So I just think that Art Briles, I know that there are people that have written me and told me that I was piling on. But you know what? I've got relatives who have been victims of sexual assault, so that kind of hit home with me. And so when I think about all of the violence perpetrated on those young girls at Baylor, I think that people like Art Briles and the AD Ian McCaw and Ken Starr, all of those people should be put to the fire, because there's never any excuse for an adult to overlook, to dismiss the welfare of young college students.
Yeah, and let's remember too, Art Briles had a chance to meet with one of those victims and did not show up to that meeting. I just, in addition to the young people, in that school district, Mount Vernon School District, for these victims to continue to have all of this brought up, the Baylor victims, as you mentioned, Cedric, just so many of them, it's just got to be such a painful reminder that there wasn't a lot of contrition or a lot of indication that Art Briles had learned much through this whole thing. So it'll just be interesting to see how it plays out. The heat is on Mount Vernon. I'm curious to see what they do. I hope they do the right thing. Art Briles can coach again. I just don't think he should be coaching high school or college anytime soon.